Okay, well, great, diolch. Prynawn da. So I'm going to talk about, I've asked to talk about how changing the way we plan and the pedagogy we use has helped improve our pupils' literacy skills at Llanellan Primary School. I'm Rhys Roberts. I've been teaching 20 years. I've taught Llanellan Primary School for 17 years. Majority of that has been in year six. I'm Welsh and LLC lead, and as we're a small school, most other things as well. I was part of the pilot team that helped develop Cymraeg campus with Central South Consortium a while back. I'm also in the film Cymru Ambassador as well. Bit of context about our school. So we have 157 on roll. Our FSM is 32%, ALN is 28%. So we've got quite a lot of challenge within the school. We are currently this year, I've only got 6 classes, but with funding issues, we are going down to 5 classes next academic year. So it is quite a small school, which does bring some benefits and some negatives as well. We've also had historically a bit of an issue with Welsh where we'll have things that work really well and then we have some setbacks, and it's a bit of a cyclical thing really. So as I said, I was involved with the Central South Consortium pilot of Cymraeg campus, and we were the first school in Central South to receive the Wobr Efydd in April 2019, before COVID, when time seems strange. But it seems quite positive from this perspective. However, we have got challenged. So I know it's been mentioned already this evening, COVID definitely has had an impact on Welsh and the acquisition of Welsh language and the teaching of Welsh language. The perception has been mentioned of Welsh has been quite hard because our parents during COVID times were quite happy and willing to get on board with the help of the learning of literacy and mathematics. But when it came to Welsh, because there's no background of Welsh amongst our parents, it was left to the side. We've had quite a lot of staff turnover over the years. So where we've got staff that's been given CPD in boosting Welsh skills, they've then moved on, and then it's that process of going over again with it. There's always the battle with time constraints, especially in a small school where everyone's really challenged over whose AOLE needs to have the spotlight and which things need to be put in forward. And a general lack of confidence in teaching of Welsh across the school. So not many of our small staff would class themselves as Welsh speakers. I'm not fluent myself, but I'm fairly good Welsh speaker, but not many other are. So we have to do quite a lot of support within school and CPD where it's available. So these kind of challenges culminated in our ESTIN in March 2023, which didn't go as well as we'd hoped it would have gone. And one of the recommendations was to improve pupils' Welsh oracy skills. So we looked at tackling that challenge because it was an essential need for us, and we were very fortunate to engage Central South Consortium. And even though it was unfortunate for the need to meet Matthias, we're very fortunate we have met Matthias because he has helped our school wonders. He's been just revolutionary for us. So when we engaged Central South, we came up with a plan of how to help start us on a journey to rebuild our confidence as a school and our standards in Welsh oracy. So the first thing we did in our schedule was listen to learners. Myself and Matthias worked on that. We've had inset from Central South to look at delivering daily Welsh sessions and the pedagogy behind it. We engaged Central South to come in and do a twilight session based on foundation and advanced Welsh so that staff could choose which area they could go in to decide what felt best to help with their Welsh language skills. And we've continued with our listen to learners going throughout, again, based on our needs with ESTIN. So our initial listen to learners in November, it went as well as expected to go. There were no surprises. I knew where we were in terms of our pupils' confidence with Welsh oracy and understanding of sentence patterns. So I knew what the challenge was and how we had to go. It was interesting to see, because I've delivered this many times in the past, the listen to learn process, but it's interesting to see how someone else led it. So Matthias led it with our children. But from another perspective, it was a chance for our pupils to hear a different voice. since COVID, we haven't had many visitors come into school because of restrictions. So it's still getting to that point where our children are being used to hearing different people's voices coming into school. So we had this, and as I said, the results weren't great. As part of our post-inspection action plan, I had feedback to different people throughout the time with our reviews. So I come up with this based on the listen to learners process, and it showed that there were large gaps. So I sat down and we looked at how to plan our daily Welsh sessions, because even though we still have our weekly Welsh sessions and we try to get a Welsh cross curriculum as well, the big need is our oracy skills. If the children can't speak the Welsh, then it's very hard to get them to understand how to read and write the Welsh as well. We needed to get back to basics. And with our analysis of the listen to learners, it was quite clear that there were big gaps and quite fundamental gaps. So there seemed little point to being put lots of pressure on teaching our, for example, year 5, 6 children, the future tense and past tense if we've got issues with basing board, So we looked at in our planning where were the gaps that we needed to fill in and what could we make the quickest advances on and which would fit in with the cohorts we had. So I then devised this plan and document there, mostly to try to reduce the amount of workload for the staff. We've had a lot of pressures put on us, and I didn't want to add more on, especially with the fact that there has been historical lack of confidence with Welsh, I guess, really. So they've already got planned out which sentence patterns I want them to work on in the weekly termly plan. And based on the CPD that we had from Central South on how to deliver these Welsh activities to really boost the children's ability to speak Welsh, I got this plan. So they identified then the teachers which activities from the sessions that we had our training in they thought would best fit that language pattern for that week, but also come up with the matrix as well for them to identify which games they were using for that week. Purely because I wanted to identify, was there going to be then an over-reliance that certain staff would use on certain activities? Does that mean that there was a lack of confidence in delivering other ones, or was it a case of the fact that they didn't quite work with the children? I know this, for example, in year 3-4, they tried the Dwi'n Clywed Dwi'n Dweud activity with the year 3-4 children, and it just didn't work for them. So it was able to identify what things we could help with. I also then created this document here because our children are very, very keen to learn Welsh. That's been consistent throughout my time. They've always wanted to learn Welsh, and it's been a case of getting our staff to meet the keenness of our children, really, in the wanting to speak Welsh. So I created this document to go out around the school and to be shared with parents, which basically plotted out what the children in each class were learning in Welsh that week. What was their target sentence pattern? This is then put up in the staff room. The head teacher's got a copy. It's in the dining hall. It's out visible at break time so staff can see there. The support staff were very keen on finding out that they could have this, but also have more of a structured approach to how to extend the sentences. And it has helped because it's taken Welsh out of being an isolated classroom thing where we do our Welsh here. I don't know what the other class is doing, so that everyone knows where it is. So at break time now, I can go to year 5 and say, oh, I think wisgo scarf. And it allows me to do a little bit of soft monitoring as well, because if I'm getting lots of responses, I know that the Welsh that week is going quite well. It's been quite fun to use down at the gate as well, because I've shared with the parents, because I can see the children they come in with past the gates, and I can ask the question relevant to their class and then gauge how quickly the parents run past me based on their knowledge of Welsh as well. But it has had a boost because I've had quite a few parents recently tell me that they've signed up to Duolingo themselves. We're a Duolingo school. We don't use as much as well. I certainly do a lot in my class, but it has had an impact because the parents are now starting to engage. So if I'm simple things such as sut ydyn teimlo heddiw, and the parents are beginning to answer and respond, because we want to really get it out there that this is a whole community school thing we want to get going. It's not just a school, it needs to be everywhere. So the big thing here is consistency. We want our children to be happy and confident to know that in 1 year, if they're doing activities and language patterns the teacher next year, even though the teacher will change, the language of what we're doing, the approach that what we're using is going to be consistent. So there's not going to be a case of, I need to learn this all again as a pupil. So the children, the staff, sorry, will have this plan on a PowerPoint. They'll create themselves based on the planning I've already given them. And they've got master copies to help develop this so that they've got a daily activity to go through. So in a daily Welsh session, which is set in stone that everyone knows that they need to do at a certain time, we have these activities going in. So we have our start of the week where we really focus on drilling the pattern with our flowchart approach to go through that. And then activities then that go from the oracy to the reading with an element of writing in towards the end of the week. So we get the whole blend of structure going through. So we've had quite a few real popular activities. The disappearing text activity, especially in year 6, is very popular within the class because it really, they want to get to a point, because I'm in year 6, where they want to have a screen where there's no text on it. We're not quite there yet, but that's the challenge with them. So I've run observations, and then that Matthias came in with me, and it was genuinely one of the most rewarding mornings that I've ever had, or days actually that I've ever had, because I've done many observations before looking at daily Welsh sessions, and it's been quite challenging to sit through. But this was a joy to see, and reception year 1 teacher in particular was transformational. This teacher, who wouldn't mind me saying this, quite reluctant in his use of Welsh in the past, based on the fact that his own lack of confidence in the language himself. Whereas the process that we've put in place, where I've put a lot of support and structure in the planning, in supporting staff with how to implement activities and build up the language patterns, he is now the biggest champion of Welsh in school, to the point where he has applied for sabbatical and he's successfully going to be on it next year. So the change from September to now is almost unbelievable, to be honest. And it's been a real joy to witness someone really take on board the Welsh language and be someone who really wants to push it forward. So it was really positive experience going through. So we then reassessed our listen to learners after this process in February. This is our midpoint look at it, and the results were positive. Not sitting here saying that it was perfect and everything's fixed, but it was clear to see that there is a positive trajectory of where we were going. So we were able to see that the pupils were able to understand the language patterns are put towards them, and they were able to respond in much more confidence. So it was really pleasing to see. And I was able to present then to governors and to impose a special action plan of what we had put in place and the impact that it is having on the pupils. What's not captured here is the impact around the school, where you've got children who are just keen and curious to find out what every class is learning. The amount of children who come up to me and just bombarding me with Welsh questions all the time, and that's just been something which has been really key to see. So I have been in the past the cluster lead for Welsh in the Pan cluster. So I've been able to then take what I've had, and I've been requested to assist 2 cluster Welsh leads on our journey to aid one school's response to Estyn inspection and another school's preparation for Estyn. I know that Matthias has also asked if myself and Mr. Foster, the reception teacher I mentioned, if we could participate in a podcast. So we're going to be doing that in the next few weeks. And as I mentioned, we've had a staff member who has successfully applied to go on the Welsh sabbatical, which he can't wait for. Recent update, I've started my end of year listen to learners. This is my year 6 one, and it just shows the progress we've had. But this has come from a lot of hard work on making sure that the daily Welsh is going on consistently. If I'm not in class and initial teacher training, that I've supported them, trained them, and they're delivering these sessions as well. It's not perfect. I'm not sitting here saying that we have fixed the issues that we've had, because there are still some areas where possibly it's not been maintained as much, but the progress we've made has been really beneficial. So the ways forward that we are looking at as a school, because we have, as I said, we've still got things that we need to do, is that I want to align the planning that we've had here of the delivery of the language patterns to get it better into the central south continuum. So making sure that at the moment we're focusing on filling the gaps, but next year, when I'm looking at planning with a reception teacher, looking more at the continuum and see these are the language patterns which I want to build up here, and then flooding it through the school. I've been asked to work on a tracking program to track our acquisition of Welsh patterns via the continuum. So I've been looking on this at the moment, so we can basically see where are the language patterns that are understood by pupils and where are the gaps that we need to work on. So we can just really work out what we target on. So that will help our planning. And also to identify the plan of language patterns to align with the daily routines. So I know that has started from reception to year 2, where they are looking at the continuum and trying to work out, well, where can we use these patterns as part of routine at break time, in the cloakroom, when they're going down to lunch, when they are tidying? How can we use these patterns that become more of a natural process, that it doesn't need to be part of the drill because it's there all the time? Also, identifying language patterns so we continue to link to topics within our school curriculum. So when we're devising a new curriculum, trying to work out how can we really work out on planning our language patterns to help across what we're looking at in our new topics. And also, I'm going to be working very closely with Mr. Foster and seeing how his progress goes this Sabbatical, and how what he can bring back to us will help us as a school to develop our Welsh and really push ourselves forward again. So yeah, diolch yn fawr iawn for listening, for what I've said. Like I said, it's been a bit of a hard year to really get through, but it's really helped having a full structured approach where I am taking away a lot of the pressures and the planning for the teachers so they can focus on the delivery of the Welsh language patterns and delivery of the daily Welsh sessions with the class. Diolch fawr iawn.